And it kind of goes back to one thing that we talked about. I mean, we always want to you own your mistakes, right? But you should also own how good you are, right? You should own the
100%.
work that you do, and you should be proud of that. So just as we all own our mistakes, well, on the flip side, own how good you are. And one thing that you've told me in the past and told some of our teammates, and I think I might be saying it, correct me here, but you say you don't deserve anything you don't ask for.
Correct.
You do not deserve anything you don't ask for.
Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Mobilization Mindset. My name is Scott Peper, CEO and founder, and today I am bringing back my man Drew Aldridge. He is our president, and he is also extremely knowledgeable about the things we hear people we talk to all the time. Why is that important? Because today, Drew and I are going to share with you the information that we hear from the folks we talk to on the phone. Not our customers only. Sometimes it might be general contractors, the best of the best sureties, the best of the best bankers, the best of the best businesses, whether they're customers of ours or general contractors or prime contractors to the government, and our clients might be with them or working for them or trying to work with them. We have a lot of perspective and things we hear from the best of the best. And we want to share the most common tidbits, attributes, answers that we also hear from questions that everyone wants to know. And we're going to share that information with you now. So we've compiled top 10, 15 questions, and we're going to go through some of those. And Drew and I are going to share some of that answer. Drew, thanks for helping me out today, brother.
It's going to be fun. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, first question. What separates businesses that successfully scale from those that stall at the same revenue level year after year? Drew, that feels like one that you might be able to tackle best.
Yeah. So what successfully sets companies that scale from those that stall? I think it's, number one, goals that are too small. So size of goal, and also how fast you want to reach that goal. This is not unique to kind of what I'm creating here. There's a book out there that I recently read called The Scaling Framework. Mm-hmm. And there's a relationship between people or companies for that matter, reaching their goals and the time that they set for themselves to reach those goals, right? And the concept is, let me create an impossible goal. For example, if you're a $5 million company and you say in 10 years, I want to be a $50 million company. Why don't you just say to yourself, I want to be a $50 million company in 2 years? So what does that require you to do? Obviously, it's nearly an impossible goal for a lot of companies, right? Well, but what does that require you to do? It requires you to focus on exactly what's important. You take inventory of every single piece of that process, of your day-to-day, of your week-to-week, of your month-to-month, and you say, I have to hit $50 million in 2 years. Your mindset starts really changing at that point. Mm-hmm. And what does a 10-year goal mean anyway, right? So I think that's the number one thing is mentality, is your goals are too small, and your goals, the horizon on those goals are way out in the future.
One of the things I love about, and you and I have talked about that book a lot, one of the things I love about setting a goal of, I want to be a $50 million business in 2 years, it forces you to realize as an owner or a leader in a business, the things that you need to be doing. And so you're going to quickly identify all the things that you don't need to be doing if you're going to actually hit that goal. Mm-hmm. And those places where you do need support or you do need to delegate, or the positions you've hired that are not delivering, those are going to quickly come up and be present to you very fast when you analyze a goal like that.
Yeah.
And so the thing I'd add to what Drew says, that when it comes to scaling your business and whether you ultimately succeed or not, and then you do it in a time frame, is you have to avoid mistakes that you've also made before. What do I mean by that? If you're repeating the same mistakes over and over again, taking the wrong job, pressing too hard, just missing payroll, if everyone could just pay me now, and you're not making adjustments, but those same themes keep coming up, you're not ready to grow. You're not ready to grow. You haven't figured out how to solve that problem yet. Now, that might mean you have to bring in some financing. It might mean you need to be a lot more disciplined with the cash you do have. It might mean both. But what's important to know is the monotonous, day-to-day, boring things that you don't want to do, you have to be awesome at. and superb at and excellent at, because that's what builds your foundation. That's what people try to skip in making this big move to 50 million or big move to double in size. And those are the things that bring you down.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, business is a series of inputs that creates an output that creates more money than all the inputs, right? And then if you want to scale and you have those big goals and you shorten up the time, I mean, you're exactly right, Scott. I mean, you're taking inventory of every single one of those inputs and said, is this absolutely necessary?
That's right.
Is this absolutely necessary for me to be doing? And in a lot of cases, you're going to come to the realization that a lot of these inputs are actually just costing you money and making you no money.
Yeah.
And one thing on the scaling thing that I want to add, that it creates a necessity for you as a leader to be thinking about alternative routes, alternative pathways to get to that impossible goal.
Yep.
I mean, habits can be the killer of innovation and growth.
100%.
You know? So.
One last thing. Performance, which is described as your product, your service, and the delivery of that, has to be awesome. And if you don't have awesome performance at the scale you're at right now, you are 100% not ready to grow. And so performance in construction business looks like you can tackle a job, you can perform the job, you're on the job, your customers are telling you how great you're doing at it, you finish the job on time, on budget, and you're doing it consistently. If you do that for 2 years and you've completed 10 projects like that, and you haven't made mistakes or the same mistakes, or you make a mistake but you still perform, you're ready to grow. If you haven't, if you've just done one job, you're not ready to grow. And it's okay. You have to be patient with making your service or your product deliverable, and the experience in which you do it to your customer base has to be awesome. It has to be remarkable, and it has to stand out if you have any hope to scale. Second question, how should owners think about growth differently when moving from 1 million to 5 million versus 5 million to 20 million? I'll tackle that one first, Drew.
Okay.
When you're a $1 million business, it's very difficult. You're probably operating with not a full staff. You're still figuring things out. You're still making mistakes. There's still a lot of things you don't know. Candidly, that's true at every single level, 5, 10, 15, 20. It's true. However, the mistakes that you make as a $1 million company can be completely detrimental, and the risk of total failure as the business just goes under and crumbles is much higher when you're a smaller business. Why? Because you just don't have enough revenue. You don't have enough diversification across the risk. You haven't been around long enough. And if you start biting off those next 3, 4, 5, $10 million chunks, it gets more complicated. And the problems that you're able to like wipe away as an individual business owner, that ability to do that goes away at $5 and $10 million in business. And so getting your systems and processes in place as a $1 million business is significantly easier to do. Those systems and processes need to be perfected. And when you're at a 5, 10, 15, $20 million business, you're able to lean on those systems and processes that scale versus you basically scale the business on your back between 0 and 1 million or more with a very light, smaller crew. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think we need to talk about, there is a process of learning how to grow, right? And you're talking about that 1 million to $5 million company, Scott. At the end of the day, those guys who own that company are also doing mostly the back office, which is support. They're doing the estimating. They're doing the planning, the crews, and the scheduling. But they have to, because they have to learn how every single part of the business actually works and what doesn't work, right? And you're just grinding. You're learning how to grow. You're actually defining, what does growth even mean for my company? But when you get that $15 million, $20 million company, I mean, that old saying, more money, more problems. Well, with more challenges, what coincides with that is a lot more opportunity.
Yeah.
And in order to support that opportunity, which are bigger opportunities, not just more opportunities, bigger opportunities, you need to be cognizant of the fact, all right, I'm the CEO, I'm the owner of the company, I need to be hyper-focused on execution, growing my business, and cultivating these larger opportunities. So what does that require? You got to say, all right, what do I need, in the back office from the financial department, legal department, estimating department in order to support sort of where I want to be a year from now versus where I am now. That's what separates that $20 million company being able to get to that $30 million company.
You know what else shows up there too? You need capital at
Yeah,
$15 and $20 million.
you do.
And if you don't have those systems in place, you're not going to be able to get the type of capital you need to execute that work.
Yeah.
Engaging in bank relationships, engaging in private relationships, finding a partner, maybe a merger. I mean, who knows? But you need these systems in place. And I'll give you guys a great story. Large contractor, trade contractor, business been around 25 years, second or third generation now, doing big work, like big infrastructure work, okay? Couple shaky things happen. CFO leaves, doesn't get replaced. The controller kind of moves up. Business is going. You never hire the CFO. You look up a year later, you still don't have a CFO. Your controller leaves. You're trying to get bonding for the same work you've always done. It's bonding company's time to review your stuff. You don't have it available. You can't get the financials available. And you find out there hasn't been, this is a true story, there has not been a bank reconciliation done since January of 2024.
Okay. That's going to limit his options.
Limit.
Yeah.
It brought them all to a pause.
Yeah.
There's no options. You can't get financing. You can't get bonding. You're trying to use a tax return with who knows how well that tax return was prepared. You have the people in your office saying, I'm writing checks and I'm just crossing my fingers praying that they clear. While you're trying to manage a ton of inputs in and out of a business that's, multiple 10 millions in size, has a lot of stuff going on in a checking account that's never been reconciled. It's hard to run a business like that. That's the type of stuff we're talking about that will really hurt.
Yeah, and we talked kind of on the last podcast, we were talking like when you grow, I mean, you want to be able to have more options. The company that has more options based on the discipline that they've had in years past and building up, that we talk about cash flow a lot. I mean, really what we're talking about is how do I build up my balance sheet? How do I build up my liquidity so I can compete more effectively in the marketplace, which essentially means I have options. Right, and I think that's critical, and that obviously they didn't watch their back.
No. Question number 3: what leadership habits matter most as a company grows past the founder-led stage? That's a tough one. That one hits home for me. There's categories of leadership that you have to focus on. We talked about getting from 0 to $1 million or $1 million to $2 million, and you got to do a lot. You got to just take it on your back. The biggest leadership quality, I would say, and this is the one I struggle with the most, is you have to move from someone who does everything to someone who teaches everything and trusts the people you're teaching it to, and can accept that they are going to make mistakes that aren't going to be mistakes you probably would have made, but you have to look at those as investments in what you're trying to build. And that is a very difficult thing, I think, for a lot of leaders. It's certainly difficult for a lot of founders who need to transition to leadership. And frankly, it's probably a lot of the reason why most businesses don't scale, because the founder is unwilling or incapable of doing those things.
I mean, with you sitting right, I mean, you're living it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's kind of funny to talk about this, but there's teaching, coaching, mentoring. I mean, you do a great job of this, Scott. And as you grow to this sort of sizable, large company, you have to kind of replicate yourself. I mean, it's that old adage of, I'm working in the business versus working on the business, right? In order to scale, you got to work on the business. You got to see the forest through the trees, and you've done a really good job of that. But it requires you to replicate yourself in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
And first off, if you teach them, you teach your direct reports, you teach your team how to do something, right? They got to learn the context, and then you coach them, and you let them do, you observe, right? And then you kind of tweak where they could have improved, which you also do a really good job of too.
But you've done a great job with that too. You think like when you first started, we only had like 11 or 12 people here.
Yeah.
In the department you were leading, you really, as the president, were leading 2 roles down. You were the lead salesperson in many cases, working with the couple sales people we had. We didn't have any type of director over that department. And now you think about there's a director over that department in every department.
Yeah.
And there's 6 people in the department where there's only 2.
Yeah.
And so you've had to do the same exact thing over in the last course of the last year. And that's just it's not easy to do. You know, you think like very rarely are you and I on the phone with any initial customer call, but yet we were on every one of them.
Every one of them. Yeah, but I think you have to do that
yeah.
in order to understand the system. I mean, to understand where things can improve, to understand where things need to be taken away. We go back to that scaling conversation, like take everything away that doesn't get you to that goal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's kind of that idea of sort of being a field commander and then a guy up on the hill being able to see the whole playing field, right? I mean, it's really kind of managing those 2 things. I'll tell you just a quick story. One of my really good friends from college works for Waffle House. Everybody knows Waffle House, right? And he was an area manager at the time. And I called him. It wasn't too far after college, and I said, "Hey, man, you know, I'm looking for a job. I'd be interested. I like Waffle House. You know, I wonder if there's a job opening there." And he said, "But I want to be a manager. I want to be a leader, right?" Yeah. And he said, "All right, come up to Asheville, North Carolina. I've got like 40 stores." And we went around, driving around to the stores, and he showed me what a day in the life of his life. And we got to the first Waffle House, and he said, "All right, go back there and make some waffles." And he put on an apron. He did it as well. And I said, "Man, you're actually making the waffles?" And he said, "Dude, you have to understand every component of the business and able to lead your people and enable to teach, coach, and mentor them and replicate yourself." Yeah. And that's kind of where I learned that lesson.
Yeah, it's a good one too. You know, that happens more often than not. I had a friend who I met, one of his closest friends who happened to run a pretty sizable private equity group. And they had just raised a fund, and they bought 400 and some Wendy's.
Okay.
And we were leaving, and he was like going out of town for 6 or 8 weeks. I'm like, "What are you doing for 6 or 8 weeks going out?" Like, I'm picturing this private equity guy. He's like getting to sit and do it. He goes, "I'm going to Wendy's school." Yeah. I'm like, "What is Wendy's school?" And he's like, "Well, basically, I got to go learn how to do everything at the single Wendy's for me to be able to close this deal, because you can't do it without, you can't own it at whatever level they were owning it without knowing how to do everything and go to Wendy's school."
If you can figure out their chili recipe, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah,
their chili
that would be pretty
spot
good.
on.
And the frosty one too. Question number 4. What risks do owners tend to overestimate, and which ones do they underestimate?
Yeah, Scott, I'll take that one. I think number one, I think at least a lot of the businesses that we talk to here overestimate their ability to complete and perform some of the work that they say they're going to do, especially if they're a $5 million company, and the amount of times that we have companies come and say, "We're a $5 million company, we're about to do an $11 million project." I think I don't have a great amount of doubt that they don't intend to finish that project, but obviously there's a lot that goes into that. I think a lot of business owners overestimate the necessity to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to, you can still grow without saying yes to everything. And then just real quick, sorry, because it's related to that, you're underestimating the amount that knowledge can actually propel you forward. And I mean that as it relates to your cash flow, the quality of your vendors, the quality of the work that you're doing. Knowledge is power. And I know that's a cliche, but I think that's underestimated. It's just like go, 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 go. I mean, move slow before you move fast is kind of what I said last time.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I could take this in a few different directions, but the one that really comes home to me is, I think, as we talk to so many customers, I think they overestimate how much, what's the right word I'm looking for? I think they overestimate how much control and capability they actually do have. Let me
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Yeah.
I'm scared to bring that up to my general contractor. They're going to send me away. I'm afraid I can't do that project. If I do that, they'll find somebody else.
Yeah.
If I don't do this work while I'm on the job, i.e. a change order, they're going to get mad and hold up my money.
Mm-hmm.
Like and maybe some of that is true, because you know what, if you're not doing a good job and you don't have a history of doing a good job and you're not performing, then it might be true.
That was going to be my question to you, Scott. I mean, like, if you have focused over the last few years in doing high quality, great work, does that change the calculus and the ability to be able to have those conversations? What does that environment look like?
Yeah, and you know, I'll share a story. I was talking to a customer of ours, and they have a real specialty trade, and they are literally probably the best in the world at what they do. Okay, and the owner, a good friend of mine now, is having a little bit of a mindset worry as he's talking through that, and he's like, I don't know if I could do that because this is going to cause a problem. And I'm like, hey man, are you great at what you do? He said, yeah. I said, is your team the best at what they do? Yeah. I said, and you know that? Yeah. I said, when's the last time you failed on a project? He said, I don't even remember. It was like it was this tiny little job.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, well, don't you think your customer knows that too?
Yeah.
And like, why don't you think about like how big of a mistake it's going to be if for this project and all the ones coming forward for this particular prime contractor you're working with, if you fail because you make a mistake on this big job and it costs you a fortune, what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
I said, he's like, yeah. I said, lean into that mentality. Go tell them what you need to be successful. The dynamics have changed. They're asking you to do something that wasn't originally set up.
They want the GC wants reliability anyway, and it kind of goes back to one thing that we talked about. I mean, we always want to own you own your mistakes, right? But you should also own how good you are, right? You should own the 100%. Work that you do, and you should be proud of that. So just as we all own our mistakes, well, on the flip side, own how good you are. And one thing that you've told me in the past and told some of our teammates, and I think I might be saying it, correct me here, but you say you don't deserve anything you don't ask for.
Correct.
You do not deserve anything you don't ask for, and you don't need to make assumptions on what your GC can or won't or will do. I mean, for all you know, they think you're the best concrete, contractor on the planet. They don't want to lose you. Maybe they'll do something and bend the rules a little bit just to keep you happy and keep you on the job.
Yeah, and it's really what you're unwilling to ask for. You don't deserve it.
Yeah, okay, that was it. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, and it came right from these kind of conversations. If you think because you think it's the right thing to do, that in this example, a general contractor should give it to you, but yet you're unwilling to ask for it, do you really deserve it?
No.
No. If you're too scared to even ask for it, then why should they be able to read your mind, interpret it the way you do, put the thought in their own head, execute on that decision, and then give it to you without you even bringing it up or even having the desire or willingness to ask for it?
I'm going to even go a little step deep. If you're not willing to have the guts to go have those conversations, that whole mentality that you just kind of outlined, do you have the respect for your business that you thought you did?
No, and you're definitely not ready to scale either.
You're definitely not ready to scale,
Correct.
Right? If you're not willing to go to bat, I mean, that's your baby. That's your business.
Yeah. And the easy mindset shift for folks listening to that saying, man, that sounds scary. It is. But just look at it like this. And a mentor told me this one time. He goes, you got to treat your business like a baby. You guys have probably heard me say this before. Babies can't take care of themselves. Babies need to be fed. Babies need their diaper changed. Babies won't survive if you don't take care of them. And your business is a baby. It has no ability to take care of itself if you don't. So you have to treat it that way. And if you look at your business as a baby, you will become much more willing to have an uncomfortable conversation and realize that it's really just uncomfortable for you. It's not uncomfortable because it's not necessary or it's not warranted or it's not needed. And doing that from a position where you know you're performing is definitely easier. If you know you're not, and you know you don't do a great job all the time, it is harder, but it still means it's something you should do because the baby cannot take care of itself.
Yeah. Always be asking yourself, what is best for my business? If you're completely honest with yourself, you're going to know what pathway to take.
That's right. All right. Last question. What is the one thing an owner should start doing today to be more successful? The one thing I think is most helpful is be extremely honest about yourself, what you're capable of, what you're really doing. Are you really performing? Are you doing everything that you say you're going to do every single day? Are you delivering the best possible performance that you got to your customers? Be seriously honest with yourself about that. You can always improve, yes, but a lot of times I think all owners, I am guilty of this. I'm a leader, I was guilty of this when I was an employee of other businesses and other industries, I was guilty of this at times. You're just not doing really what you think you're doing, and you're not doing it nearly as well as you think you are. And when you can really hone in and be honest with yourself about that, you can quickly identify the things that you can improve on. And if you do nothing else other than that, I think you'll find more success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to take even a step further back and say, I talk to businesses a lot over, since being in banking, being here, I call it over 1,000 businesses. Even when people, come and talk and have like an informational with me or asking advice, I ask a simple question: what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? And what I gather, if you can't answer that question succinctly and have that vision, I mean, you're always trying to get us to have, the vision conversation with ourselves. If you don't have a vision, you have no direction, and it's just chaos. You're just running chaos, right?
Yep.
And out of all the companies that I personally looked at over the course of my career in finance, the businesses that have a leader that have a clear vision, and when asked the question, what do you want? And they just rattle it off. Those are the ones that I have found to be the most, A, they're the most successful. B, the partners that they bring on board, I don't mean ownership partners, but like banks, lawyers, insurance, they believe that vision. That continues to open up more options.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good one. All right, everybody. That's a wrap. We gave you 5 good ones. Maybe we'll keep this format. I don't know. We'll see. This seems like a pretty good little session. We'll see how the feedback goes. Remember, you can find us on mobilizationfunding.com. More answers, more questions, customers of ours, all of these folks that we've learned these from, whether it's general contractors, other sureties, you have anyone and everyone, accounting, lawyers, all of them. They are all on our podcast or on our YouTube channel at mobilizationfunding.com. And until next time, may God bless you and have a great week.